Hello, YouTubers. It's Barbie J here. Welcome to my channel, June BLC. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Barbie J here with the recap and review of The Equalizer, Season 5, Episode 18, Decisions. And as we all know, this is the final episode. CBS did not renew their contract. So this is the finale, honey, y'all, of The Equalizer. Hashtag say The Equalizer didn't work. But Robin said, well, Queen Latifah said, that they will be back soon with something exciting or something. So let's all support her in her next endeavor and back her up the way we should. But for them to take down this show to put up these other shows that we know what's going on here. Come on, y'all. We know who's in the White House. We know what everybody's doing. Everybody's shutting down stuff. Come on. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there. Y'all don't have to listen to me, but everybody have their own way of thinking, their own thoughts and stuff about what's happening. And of course, these people up there, the executives are trying to say it's the ratings, but we know it's not the ratings because they forced her ratings down by moving her from the 8 o'clock slot to the 9 o'clock slot. By season 3 she was at 9, and then by season 4 she was at the 10 o'clock slot. We never get to see the show. They mixing her around. People are missing it because we don't know what's going on. Y'all know how it goes. We know how the game is played. Anyway, if you are new here and returning here and have not subscribed to this channel as of yet, please take a moment right now, hit that subscribe button, then hit the notification bell and select all. It'll let you know every time I upload any new content to this channel. Then I ask that you smash that like button, which is the thumbs up button, write a comment and join the conversation, and then share the video because what? Sharing is caring, y'all. And so before we get started with this recap, I just want to say that this was a wonderful episode. The ending was great in the point that it closed up a lot of the storylines that were open. We got an ending for Robin and Dante. We got an ending for Delilah. We got an ending from Aunt Vi. And we got an ending for who? Mel and Harry. And who was the outstanding person? Salazar. So we got endings for all of that. So this was great. Something that we never got out of a Tyler Perry joint. You know what I mean? We never get a really good ending out of a Tyler Perry joint. It was always messy how these shows ended, the have and the have-nots and all the other ones. So anyway, this episode begins with we see Salazar in the Poconos in the woods spying on Robin and Marcus, they hugging and everything. And then some innocent hikers come by. I don't know why the hikers didn't see them in the first place. And when they see these, they young white people, when they see these guys around them, they're like, oh, please don't shoot us. He said, oh, why would I do that? We're not going to shoot you. That makes too much noise. He gets this girl out there and in one swipe, she takes a knife and cuts both of their throats. Unnecessarily, I tell you. Anyway, Robin and Marcus are in the cabin and they're enjoying everything in there. They loving it. The food is coming out. They pull out the bottle of wine. All of a sudden, knock, knock, knock on the door. Who is it but Glenda and Gary Thompson? They're neighbors from down the road who heard their car come in. So they come in and make themselves at home, opening up their wine and stuff and looking all around back and realizing they got a hot tub and ours don't look like this and all of that. And so before they had gotten there, Robin and Dante were reminiscing about the first time he met her. She played him in his precinct. He said, "Talking about you were some public defender named Tracy something." She said, "Oh, Tracy Sloan." She said, "You fell for it." He said, "Yeah, I fell hard, baby." I was like, oh, sugar now. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's when Glenda and Gary showed up. And so they were pouring their wine and drinking it up, telling them they need to try it. They need to get some more glasses. Excuse you? Y'all just done came in there. You know how they be saying white people nosy. They go through your stuff and opening your stuff. It's too funny. But that's what they was doing. It's hilarious. So they asked who they were, and Robin said, Tracy Sloan. And Dante said, Mike Lowry. I was was dying. Y'all know that's from, what was that, Bad Boys with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence? I was cracking up. Mike Lowry. But back to Salazar and them, they wanted to have the element of surprise, So they wanted to make sure they was gonna take care of Robin and that day. They wasn't gonna wait around. So back at the Batcave, we see Mel and Harry trying to figure out the connection between Salazar and Cromwell, who was the guy that had set up the bomb in episode 17 and then held the captain by gunpoint, and then Robin had to shoot him and end up killing him. Anyways, while they trying to figure out this stuff, Harry all of a sudden gets this headache. He's letting Mel know that he no longer wants to do this equalizing and putting their lives on the line, and he feels that one day their luck might run out and stuff. And Mel was trying to find out where this was all coming from, but he didn't have a solid reason why, but that's how he was feeling. So then Harry felt that he needs to let Robin and Dante know that Salazar is back in town. And Mel is like, no, let's wait, because, they're on their little romantic getaway and stuff. And, he might pop the question. He's like, he ain't going to do that. Why would he do that? She was like, he planned this whole thing, and we know they madly in love with each other and yada, yada, yada. And Harry's like, but we bros. Like, he would have ran it by me first because that's what bros do, and Mel is like, really? You think so? She said, follow the breadcrumbs, baby. Follow the breadcrumbs. So now Dante's all in his feelings because he's feeling left out. Anyways, he goes back to doing his research and finds out that Salazar has just gotten off a plane that landed in a private little field out in the Poconos. So they're like, wait a minute. How did he trace Robin? She has a digital footprint. They said, but Dante doesn't have one. So that's probably how he found them. So they both immediately start making phone calls. Mel said Robin's keep going to voicemail. And Harry said Dante's keep going to voicemail. So they're like, maybe the signal is blocked. They can't believe that there's no cell service there, Wi-Fi, when it's such a popular destination. So they're figuring that Salazar and blocked the signal some kind of way. Then they like, how can we find him? He found out that Marcus used his credit card to book it. They found out where the cabin was. And they said, oh, there's a police substation right there. We could contact them. They calling the police substation. Nobody's answering. We see the police officer on the floor dead, and Salazar and his men are in there. And they're like, Salazar must be stopping everything so there's no backup for them. So they decide they're going to have to get a helicopter and go out there to warn Robin and Dante, or at least save them or be their backup or something. Then we back at the house with Aunt Vi and Delilah. And Delilah sees Aunt Vi hiding her cookware and knives from Captain Curtis, who's coming over to cook for her. She's like, no way he's getting near my good cookware and knives and diamond things. Oh my goodness. And so she pulls out these pans and said, these I have to do. And Delilah's like, didn't I give you that for Christmas a couple of years ago? She said, baby, it was the thought that counts. Delilah's like, okay, fine. But Aunt Vi, I'm surprised you even letting him in your kitchen. You must really like this guy. She said, honey, we passed the like stage. I was like, oh, okay, Aunt Vi, okay. So Aunt Vi decides to change the subject, and she asks Dee where she's going. She looks so nice. And Dee says she's going to a book signing to see one of her favorite authors. So she said, oh, that's nice. So she leaves, and we go back over to the Poconos cabin, where we see Robin and Dante in bed, supposed to be making out. I am very disappointed. This is the only part of the show that disappointed me. If this was going to be that last episode, they could at least gave us a better love-making scene with Robin and Marcus. Somebody put it down in the comment section if they agree with me. It could have been better than that. That was whack. She still had on her pajama top. She didn't even have on no lingerie. Have her with a nightgown on or something. All we saw was Dante's back. We ain't seen him on top of her humping or her on top of him humping. Come on, give us some stuff. Where the beads of sweat coming off? Where the hair messed up? Where all of that at? They could have given us that. It's the finale, y'all. Come on, we've been waiting for this for 5 doggone seasons. And this what you gave us? Highly disappointed. Highly disappointed. Y'all can put your thoughts down in the comment section if you wish. But then the ridiculous part is Here they are in bed. Knock, 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 knock on their door. What in the world is going on here? The guy Gary from next door. He's saying, I think he was gonna say left something. All of a sudden he gets shot in the back and falls into their arm. They pull him in and close the door. They see these three men with guns shooting up. Pa, 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 pa. They like, what in the hootie and the blowfish is going on here? So they take cover and then they trying to figure out a plan because they don't know what's happening. You know what I mean? And they're realizing their weapons are either in the car or in the bathroom or in the bedroom or something like that. So they looking around to see what they could use for a weapon. When them men come busting in there, Robin got one of them cast iron skillets. Them things will take you out with one hit in the forehead now. I'm telling you. I was like, that might have been better than the automatic weapons that they had. You know what I mean? I was laughing when she was using that. Dante was fighting with his fists and everything. I mean, they were going at it, knives, everything. So, of course, they won the fight at this point. They got to beat all those guys up, kill them. But now they're like, what are we going to do? They see the tattoos on their hand and they're realizing this is Salazar coming for them. So they make a game plan to meet at this white pine with the writing on it that they passed when they were coming in. But Dante's going to get Glinda because they can't leave her up there by herself. And Robin's going that way. They're realizing they got to fight them off some kind of way. Meanwhile, back at the Batcave, we see Mel and Harry getting ready, and Harry's like this is the last time. And Mel's like, what would we be doing all day if we wasn't equalizing? Oh, chilling, going to brunch, resting, walking Horatio. She's like, Horatio? Yeah, the dog we're going to have. She said, the dog is okay, but that name is up for discussion. He's like, what's wrong with Horatio? She said, nothing's up with it. I dated a Horatio for 3 years. He said, oh, we're not using that name. I started laughing. I said, see how men's egos are? He wanted to be Horatio, but now it's going to remind her that man she used to date for 3 years. So anyway, there was this sweet little part when Robin and Dante were splitting up, and she was like, come back to me. And he said, I will. I was like, oh, shoot now. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm like getting into that part. Anyway, back to the house with Aunt Vi and Captain Curtis. Homeboy brought his A game in his culinary skills to commandeer Aunt Vi's kitchen. She was having a hard time letting go the reins, allowing him to do stuff. He trying to cut and said, I could do this faster if you had sharper knives. I said, She's sitting there drinking wine, feeling like a fool. See, she didn't know homeboy knew how to cook. And he was like, give me some paprika. She's like, paprika? You know, just because she don't use the seasonings that you use, baby, don't mean he can't do something. So he was doing a little something. Something had her totally impressed and stuff, you know. And then he asked her to move in with him. And she was like, say what now? And then it switched back over to Delilah. Delilah made it to the book signing, you know, and Delilah's talking to her favorite author. She tells her how she used quotes from the book in her entry application letter to Howard, and that she didn't get in because of an arrest record or something. And she told her why. And the author was like, well, you seem like the type of person who they should really have in Howard. She said, you know what? I want to take a break. Let's go out for coffee. So they go out to coffee and they sitting down talking, and Delilah shares about UCLA, but the author could tell she's not happy about it. She said, so what you going to do about it? And Delilah's like, what do you mean? She said, you're going to give up at the first no that you encountered and stuff, you know? And she's like, well, I didn't get in. She said, okay, so say I'm the entire Howard admissions board. What would you say to me to get me to change my mind about you? And Delilah started off with social justice is in my blood, and she went on with all of this other stuff. And so the author looked at her and smiled like, that was great. Meanwhile, back in the Poconos, Dante finds Glinda. She was hiding because she heard the gunshots. She's looking for Gary. He said, I'm sorry, Gary's gone. She's crying and stuff. He said, come on, you got to go with me because Gary wouldn't want you to stay here. See, at least they came and looked for her. That's the good part of Dante and Robin. How they think about other people. They're selfless. You know what I mean? They'll go after to help somebody else. So he grabbed her out of there, and the people started shooting at them and everything. And he couldn't, watch her for long. He told her, look, down the way, you'll see there's a tree. He's about to say, Robin will be waiting. He said, Tracy will be waiting for you. Hurry up, make it down that way. I'll fight him off. So he's shooting the guns, and she's, she's running her stuff and everything. And Dante runs out of bullets and everything. Meanwhile, Glenda gets to Robin. She's like, where's Mike? She's like, said he was gonna be right behind me. I don't know. They might have got him. He might be even dead. She said, don't say that. He's not dead. He's not dead. So she's like, okay, come on. And I don't know what she did, where she took Glenda, but she ended up back at the cabin, Robin did, and Harry and Mel was in there. But when they had arrived to there, I was cracking up because they got in there and they saw the cabin full of bullet holes and dead men. And Harry says, I guess Dante ain't getting his security deposit back. I was so funny because I was looking at it saying the same thing. That's why I thought that was like the funniest line. I was like, they ain't never giving that man his security deposit back. He ain't never going to be able to rent a cabin again. So they think Dante is held at the police substation. They telling Robin, and they was talking about getting back up, and Robin's like, we don't have time. We don't know what they could be doing to him. Oh my God. And he's like, Robin, he might be, Harry's trying to say he might be dead. She was going to sacrifice herself and do a trade. And he's like, no, you can't do that. So Robin was like, she ain't got no choice because that's her man. So she ended up at the police substation because they found her in the woods. And she see Marcus on the floor beat up and tied up. And she's like, Marcus, and he's like, Robin, is that you? Blood and stuff, everything. So they sit her down in a chair and tie her wrists up. And she's like, Salazar, you got what you want. I'm here. Let him go. He's like, you are in no position to be telling me what to do. He says, I am angry with you because you keep creating problems for me. So he went on complaining. And then he said, who wants to die first? You want me to kill him first or kill you first? And she said, neither. He said, oh, so you want us to go together? And he's pointing a gun. Dante sees so calm. So I don't know if he read something on Robin's face. I don't know what he thought. All I know is Robin closed her eyes and you see a bullet come through and shoot one of the men. Salazar turned around. Dante breaks his cuffs. He starts fighting with somebody. Mel comes in there shooting the stuff. Harry is underneath the substation shooting up. He got a camera in there because he could see the guys and he's shooting up. Shot them all up between their legs, two of the guys. I was like, ooh, they probably hit some private parts up in there. You know what I mean? So Dante runs and hides and stuff while his men are getting beat up and killed. And then Dante got a gun and shot one of the guys. Then he was about to turn around and shoot Salazar, but Salazar shot him first. He hit the floor and ran, and Salazar ran. Robin's like, you okay? Dante, you okay? And then you see Mel and Harry, Dante, you okay? And he's like, go get him. He said, get him. And she said, Harry, stay with Dante. Please do not leave him. He said, I'll be right here. And they went out in the woods, Mel and Robin, going after Salazar. So they split up. Mel said she'll circle around, and Robin went straight at him. So Salazar and Robin are shooting at each other and stuff. Both of them run out of bullets at the same time, or ammunition, whatever you want to say. So he pulls out a knife, talking about we're going to do it the old-fashioned way, and he starts fighting her. Good thing she got on that big old bulky jacket. You know what I mean? So I guess Robin's skills were better than Salazar's because she ended up stabbing him with his own knife. But did y'all see where the stab wound was right in the middle? And he had on a jacket and everything too. It just seemed like that little stab wouldn't have killed him yet. I was like, don't leave yet. Make sure he dead. Because it seemed like he just pulled it out and still survived. I was concerned about that. Mel come running over at the last minute with the gun. I'm like, where was you all this time? They fighting. You talking about you going to circle around. She could have just shot him and she didn't have to be fighting. You know what I mean? Anywho, back to the house with Aunt Vi and Captain Curtis. And he wants an answer. He wants her to move in with him. He's letting her know we are way past just dating. We're friends, we're lovers, confidants, and partners. He said, tell me if I'm wrong. And she said, you're not wrong. He said, so it's no pressure, but he ready to take the next step. And Aunt Vi said that she's not. And then she spoke on her track record of living with others. He said, I'm not others. And he said, and your past should not dictate our future. And she was like, you're right about that. She said, but like that old saying goes, if it's not broken, don't fix it. You know, so she's happy the way things were, how they carefree and sexy and everything. He said we could be that living together. He said, let me know. We're supposed to be growing. Are we growing together or are we growing apart? And she was like, you said you wasn't going to pressure me. He said, I just want to know what I'm investing in. And she's like, you're investing in us the way we are. He said, and what if the way we are isn't enough? I said, oh, shook it now. He just putting it out there on the table. This man is head over heels about Viola. And she feels the same way, but I think she's just scared. And I understand that girl. I understand it. So now back at the cabin, we see Dante on the floor and Robert and Mel come in and she's asking how he's doing. And they tell her that the bullet went through and through. So it's not lodged in his body anywhere, basically. And so he's trying to get up on his knees. She's like, no, you need to rest. We got to get him to a doctor or something like that. And he's like, no, I can't wait right now. He said, I've been planning this whole thing. I even wrote a speech. And he's getting up off the floor and she's looking at him confused. And he's on one knee and he started digging in his pocket. He pull out a ring and Mel's like, and Harry's upset because he like, yo, bro, you didn't go ask me first. You didn't talk to me. I thought we were bros, you know. So anyway, he pulls out that ring and Robin's like freaking speechless is what. That's what she was. And he's like, maybe this is the wrong time or maybe it's the right time. He said, because this is who we are. It's who we always gonna be. And I don't want to wait any longer. Robin McCall, will you marry me? And before she could answer, he fell and passed out. And Robin's like, he must be bleeding internally. She's like, Mel, get him a medevac. I don't know what that is. If someone out there in the comment section knows, please let the rest of us know what a medevac is. Thank you. So now we see Mel, Harry, and Robin at the hospital. Robin's pacing back and forth, and they're trying to give her words of encouragement. Dante's strong. He's going to push through. If anybody will, he can, and all this stuff. And she's like, they're like, you just got to trust. She said, I'm all out of trust. Honey, I know that feeling too when you're all out of trust. She said, I just need to know that he's going to pull through and he's going to make it. So while she's pacing back and forth, here comes Aunt Vi and Dee rushing in, to be there for her. And she lets Aunt Vi know that he asked her to marry him, but she didn't get a chance to answer. And at that moment, that's when the doctor came in and Robin went over to her and asked, how's he doing? And she said they repaired the artery well and that the next 24 hours would be critical. And she's like, can I see him? And she's like, yeah, she'll take her to her. And everybody's like, okay, we'll be out here. But I got to say something about Aunt Vi. She be vibing in those outfits. I don't know if she actually dresses like that or they just dressing her like that for this part because Aunt Vi be vibing in those vibrant colors and patterns and everything. Let me tell you something. That stuff ain't for me, but it is working the mess out of Aunt Vi. She looks so good in those outfits. I was like, I would never think to wear nothing like that, but it looks fabulous on her and I love it. And I have to say that because every season they have in some stuff that I just love, and like I said, it's not something I would buy for myself, but it looks amazing on her. Anyhow, Robin goes into Dante's room, stands by his bed, and just starts rubbing his hands and stuff. Meanwhile, we see Aunt Vi and Delilah out there in the waiting area. And Delilah's like, he's going to be okay, right? And Aunt Vi says, out of our hands, all we can do is stay positive and pray. I said, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. She right about that. So anyway, she asked Dee about the book signing. And she's smiling and she tells Aunt Vi that she got a chance to speak with Kara after the book signing. And Aunt Vi was like, oh, it's Kara now, is it? And she's like, yeah. She's like, okay. And Delilah says, turns out she's on the Howard's Board of Admissions and that she's going to appeal my application. And Vi is like, no. And she said, yeah. And she's just smiling. She said, so if her recommendation gets you into Howard, is that going to be your choice? And Delilah said, yes. So Aunt Vi is happy because Aunt Vi, if y'all remember several episodes back or a season back, she's the one who introduced Delilah to the idea of attending a HBCU, a historical Black college or university. So right now, Aunt Vi is feeling good inside about what she did or just making that introduction for her niece. And Delilah told Aunt Vi that Kara wrote a lovely message in her book when she signed it. And she told her that faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. That is beautiful. Don't y'all think so? Put that down in the comment section too. And Aunt Vi said, that's Martin Luther King Jr. I always loved that quote. And I said, I had never heard it before, but I'm loving it now. How about y'all? So now back in Dante's room, he wakes up while Robin's still sitting by his bedside, rubbing his hand. And he goes, you never answered my question. And she's like, shh, be quiet, get some rest. And he's like, nah, you're not getting out of that easy. And she started making excuses of why they can't be together. She can't use her real name. What kind of life is that? How she had to make a choice between her partner and the people she was supposed to protect. And he's like, you did the right thing. Yeah, but he died and da 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 da. I expect you to do that too. And she said, I don't want to relive that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's your dig on fiance or husband. I'm confused at what she's saying here. Not that I'm really confused, but I understand. And he's like, tomorrow is not promised to any of us. He said, it doesn't matter if you're a cop or equalizer or an accountant. He was like, life is uncertain, so you don't know. He said, so let's talk about what we do know. He said, I love you. I was screaming. And he said, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And Robin just was looking at him. So he turned away and said, so it's a no then. And she said, it's not a no. And she pulled the ring out of her pocket and put it on her finger. She said, I love it. And he said, it's a perfect fit, just like us. And I said, oh, okay. I hear you. Marcus. What's that in Boomerang? Marcus. And so Robin said in her sexy voice, Detective Dante, yes, I'll marry you. I was like, oh, shoot now. So the episode ends with them all at Robin's house. Robin comes out with this beautiful like type gown on with the sleeves and everything. And Vi and Delilah like, you look fabulous, girl. You look wonderful. And she said, well, it's not every day we throw an engagement party for me. So then Marcus comes in and he's like, wow, you look great. She was like, I still think you left the hospital too soon. He said, if I'd known you'd been wearing that, I would have left the hospital sooner. I said, I hear that. And so then he told her that the boys will be over later and that they're excited about this engagement. They even helped him pick out the ring. I was like, get out of here, really? So then Mel and Harry come into the house. Nobody knocked. Everybody just walks in now. This last part looked like a Tyler Perry joint. Everybody just walking in the house. Nobody locks the door. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding y'all. But still. It ain't because Tyler Perry's shows, I told you, I didn't have no good endings. They just was ridiculous endings on a lot of his shows. So Mel and Harry are thanking the happy couple, you know what I mean? And then Harry brings up the stuff about the equalizer. And she said, well, we still going to be doing the same thing, but it's going to be a family business. And then he's saying how Mel and I have been taking stock in things and everything. And don't say Mel and I because it was you. It was your whole idea. And basically, Mel jumped in to try to save it and say, we're not talking about stopping now anytime soon. But he's like, no, we're going to be here for a while or something like that. But he brought it up. Why would you bring that up at the engagement party? Really? So Robin and Mel walk away, and Harry says something to Dante about, I thought we were bros, like why he didn't consult him before he did it. He said nobody knew. And then Dante asked him, who did he consult when he asked Mel? And he said, well, Mel kind of asked me. And Dante said, wow, that clears up a lot of stuff. And he just pat him on the shoulder. So now Captain Curtis arrives and he brings a bottle of wine and he congratulates Robin and Marcus, and Vi asks to speak with him and he apologizes for pressuring her, and she says no, she should be the one apologizing. And she said so much has been going on and that she's been so scared. And Curtis said, change could be scary. And Vi said, so could standing still, letting life pass you by because you're too timid to act. So she said, let's take this first step. He said, first step? And she said, yeah, but I'm not moving into your place. How about if we look for a place together that we could call our own? And Curtis was like, I'd like that. And he added, I promise, Viola, it'll be fun, sexy, and spontaneous. And she's like, and giggling and stuff. I love this for her. I love this for her. And so now everybody sits down to dinner, and Delilah does a toast to the man that makes my mom happier than I have ever seen her. Then Mel says a quick toast, and then Robin says a toast to the man I plan to spend the rest of my life with, and to family in all of its forms, especially ours. And everybody's like, here, here, cheers. And Robin and Dante kiss. What is it? I would have to say either McCall and Dante or Robin and Marcus. Anyway, it was a beautiful ending. That's the way it went down. Y'all let me know down in the comment section how y'all love this episode called Decisions. They all had to make some sort of decisions in their life, didn't they, y'all? So that was a great title for it. I'm glad that Robin and them had this episode on the back burner, because I'm sure this wasn't what episode 18 was supposed to look like. I don't think Salazar was supposed to get killed that quick. I think it was probably supposed to get stretched on a little bit longer. Anybody else think that? Let me know. But I took my time with this review. You know I don't usually do no 30-minute reviews. But because this is the season finale, I thought it was worth giving it all the time necessary for me to give my 2 cents on it. So, and please, y'all put something down in the comment section how y'all felt about it. And please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share to this channel. And I will see you all in the next video. Please forgive me for doing all these videos late. I told y'all in another one that I'm doing some things that's stopping me from being able to get my videos out on time. But by the time middle of June come, I will be able to explain to y'all what I've been doing, what's been going on, and why I have been so delayed and putting up stuff. Because y'all, I'm working hard and training hard, and it's a lot going on. I love you all. Please bear with me. Please help keep my channels growing, and I will see you all in the next video. Again, please do not forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Peace.